Hello, hello. We are back for another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. I'm Joe. That's Cody. I'm with EXP. He's with Residential Mortgage. I'm in Oregon. He's in Washington.
That's
What
right.
else? That was good. That
It's
was
like
fast and
that
good.
was great. We're like opposites, yet we pair well together, like
Yes, it's like a
wine and
fine wine and
cheese.
cheese.
Yes.
Speaking
Wow.
of wine and cheese, I kind of want to get a membership to is it Willamette Estates?
Mm.
Anyways, um, we had a thing the other day with friends. It was really good. We basically, he's got a salam, sommelier, what's sommelier,
Mm.
somala, some whatever it is. The person that's like really good at wine. Like,
Sommelier, I think.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
anyways, a friend of his, he's like, you guys should try wines and just kind of like document what try to get good at it. Like in the sense of just like, it'd be fun, just talk about because everyone's preference difference, and Christine and I are not like classy wine drinkers.
Same
And so
here.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
know the difference. Everyone's like oaky or walnut
Right.
or, whatever. I have no idea. So anyways,
Uh-huh.
we had a
You're like,
night.
just fill it up.
Yeah, we had a night that we tried two French wines and two Italian wines, and we had to like document, like we went through. It was almost like a game of like not a game, but we wrote down like
It's like a
what is this
test.
like? Like, is it light? Is it clear? Is it
Uh-huh.
like different things? And it was actually pretty cool. Like you did start to like, and no one was wrong, so it's like you heard what people were thinking, and then you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, and then so anyways, long story short,
Oh.
it was a good time. It was really fun. I feel
Yeah.
like you do learn stuff, and I think I can see why winos like start to be able to determine flavors, based on if you really think about it. Like
Right.
and we had the chance to jot things down and talk about it. It was very nerdy, but it was really
Sure.
cool. But I want to
Probably, yeah, probably kind of cool though.
yeah, it was fun. And we went, and then you just drank the bottles anyway. Like after you did after you
Sure.
did the
Yeah. You're
formal
like, okay,
thing,
I
you're
don't
like,
care
well,
now.
can't leave them open. So
Uh,
like,
they're gonna go
don't want to
bad in a
put that
matter of an
cork back in.
hour.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But Willamette, I think it's Willamette Estates. They have a ton of locations. One in Lake Oswego that Christina and I have been dying to be a part of this, and it's not anything like anyone can do it, but we have every
Sure.
single time tried to go there, they are closed. And it's not like we've
Oh, no
gone,
way.
and it's not that they're closed all the time. It's the fact that like I think that every time we think of going, it's like a Tuesday, and they're like, that's the day we close.
It's the one day we're not
So
open.
yeah, so we're hoping that we can get to there and become
That's cool.
members of
Yeah.
that fine
So they have
establishment.
like tasting rooms, and then you
Yeah,
get
they
like
have
a,
tasting
a
rooms all over, and
X
that's what
amount
we
of
liked,
bottles.
especially for clients. And this is kind of a pitch to
Hmm.
clients. Even if you don't like Christina and I, you can, if you like wine, we can take our clients. We can take our clients to. There's one in Lake Oswego. There's one in Salem. It's the one in Salem. I think it's the one in Salem, right off I-5, the one you see like
Oh,
right
okay.
by Enchanted Forest.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then they have Dundee or Dayton. Like they have
Hmm.
like multiple locations.
Yeah.
Just make it super convenient to say, oh, we can meet here for dinner or lunch, or we'll take you there,
Uh-huh.
Cody. Once
Yeah,
you
let's
become
go.
members, we'll take
I
you.
like it. Let's go.
We'll see your wine tasting skills.
They're
Uh,
very top notch.
if you're anything
We
like me, you're like reaching under the table with the boxed wine and kind of pouring the boxed wine.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. We did that because we've gone down to Dundee. I don't remember what the place is. We've gone to a few different places down there, and we had talked about it, but it was like, man, by the time we actually get those whatever, you know, couple bottles a month or whatever it
yeah,
is that
like once a
you're
quarter.
getting,
Like
like
yeah, like
we just kind of go on a kick every once in a while where
yeah,
I do enjoy wine, but I don't really like, it's not my go-to
yeah,
thing if I want to have something. Um, but one time we took a little vacation to Eagle Crest, and we're like, let's get a couple different bottles. Let's get a couple nice bottles, and
yeah.
let's get a couple cheap bottles. And we
Just see
can
what
do our
happens.
kind of like what you did, right?
Yeah,
A little comparison. And I it wasn't that the cheap wine was better. It was just the difference in flavor between
yeah,
a $8 bottle and a $40 bottle, which I know there's way more expensive bottles
yeah,
than
yeah.
that, but like just kind of like I'm like, I would take the cheap wine over that any day because it tastes similar enough to me. I'm not a wine
Yeah,
drinker,
that it's not
so
worth it.
it's
Yeah,
just it's I guess probably like anything. The more you do it, the more you realize like, oh, I don't really like that flavor as much. This one's
for
smoother.
sure.
It's got these
Yeah.
different flavors. But from somebody that drinks, wine at a wedding or a random
Yeah.
thing where there's wine, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll try that. It's wine is wine. kind
I
of like,
know.
but I'm that way with it, even with beer. Like I like
I
certain
know.
beers, but I'm still like, I'll take whatever you have.
Yeah. I'm
It's,
like, you can't take the country out of us, you know.
I think
I
so.
like Miller Lite, you know, whereas
Yeah.
like I don't need anything fancy.
No,
I'll
I
have
don't
an
need anything
IPA, but it's
fancy.
like if you just give
Yeah.
me a Keystone Light, I'll be like, okay, like that's
As long
fine.
as it's
Like,
just, lukewarm, then I'm
yeah,
good. I'll
yeah,
take it.
yeah. I don't want it cold.
I don't want it.
That's for
Yeah.
sure. And as long as I can just shotgun it, like,
Right. Yes, that's the problem.
like
It gets too cold, you can't chug it.
get to brain freeze. No one wants that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same,
Oh,
and I
that'll be
feel like
cool.
an idiot, but it's like I'm the same. It's like my palate is so cheap that I don't
Yes.
need anything fancy. But it was intriguing to kind of get into a nicer wine, and
Yeah, that's
um,
kind of cool.
yeah, and it'll be good. So it'll be fun. We give clients like gifts and stuff for closings, and we put wine in
Huh.
it most of the time. So that'll be a
Yeah,
good resource to have, good write off.
definitely.
It's all free
Oh,
once you write it
absolutely.
off, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's fake money.
Yeah, it's like everything's
Well,
free
the
if you
nice
write
thing
it
with
off.
that though, too, like that one is you have multiple locations as
Yeah,
opposed to just only
that's what we
one
like about
spot.
it.
So you can,
Yeah,
yeah.
is you can go like in some places are only Dundee and things like that. It's like we want a place that
Hmm.
we can take people, especially like us, we go being close to us, that we can take
Yeah.
people to dinner, take people to lunch, those sort of things that are
Hmm.
nearby. So, got the most
Yeah.
resources, best bang for our buck. So,
Yeah.
um,
There's a tasting room up here in the waterfront. They've done a lot of stuff in the
yeah,
waterfront
a ton
in
of stuff.
Vancouver over the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
few years. And
been there
there's
a couple times.
okay, Maryhill, I think
Sounds
is
really familiar.
the tasting room in there, and it's a pretty cool spot. Like it's more of like a restaurant type feel as
Yeah,
far as size and the tables and everything, but it's just like one big tasting room, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of different wines there, and it's pretty
nice.
cool. Like it makes you, when you go to something like that, you're like, oh, this would be kind of cool. Like
Yeah,
I could see us doing this as
for
a
sure.
fun little date night thing. It's a different environment. It's, I don't know,
Yeah,
so I
I
could see it
agree.
being a cool thing.
We went years ago well, I've been there more recently, but we went years ago for a friend's birthday party, and it was at night, and it was just such a hip place, and I was like,
Uh
this
huh.
is not. I loved it, but it was like, man, it was good to get back in the scene in a
Uh
sense
huh.
because you're like, wow, okay, people still do go and do fun things, and like young
Right.
kids all dressed up, and like you could just tell they're like excited about life, and
Uh huh.
and so it was just so funny being there and seeing like, man, we were there. Like we were there
Yeah.
once. Like they're
Exactly.
all dressed, like they all have their fancy stuff on. They're all like so motivated and
Uh
happy. And
huh.
not that I'm not, but it's just an interesting, going back a time period or to a place that it goes back in generations that you can kind of
Yeah.
see
Totally.
almost yourself back then. It was just really interesting. But they have
Yeah.
really cool hip places there that are a lot of
Hmm.
fun. The
Yeah.
waterfront, Vancouver's done a good job with that.
Yeah. Now you just show up in flip flops and shorts
But yeah.
and whatever. You're like, I
That
don't
always bugged
care.
me with when I was with the Gov. They they always we went to events that were like formal. It would say invitation
Oh yeah.
formal or whatever it might have been or semi formal whatever, and it's like Oregon. And she even joked. She was like, "It's Oregon formal," which basically means anything. And
Nice.
I was like, that is not okay. Like people have these big events and they have these big fundraisers and they're like, hey, this is your attire, and then we'll have an Oregonian, senator or politician or lobbyist like wearing, a sports coat and jeans and ratty tennis shoes or whatever. I'm like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah.
This is a formal event. We're all in like suits, ties, everything. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
as the hired help, as the hired meatheads
Right.
to protect the governor, we're dressed up better than them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
just it's so interesting in Oregon. Like if you went, my brother's in DC, and it's like when it says a formal or not, you're dressing like that. Like
Uh huh.
DC is like a
Sure.
different game of politics, and they dress
Uh
up
huh.
for sure. It's pretty cool. I don't know how we
Yeah.
got into dress up for politics, but
Right. Side note, I
yes,
so went down to my dad's for the 4th of July
okay.
and got to see some family and everything. And I was talking to my cousin, and he was saying that he works with Kevin,
Oh, really?
your brother. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
McMinnville
was like, oh, yep.
Water and Light.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He said
Ryan
he
Stick
hired
is
him.
there too.
I knew that too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, oh, hey, I work with Kevin
Oh, that's
Skipper.
cool.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no way. He's like, yeah, I actually hired him. I don't know how long ago, whenever it was. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, he's just like taken off and ran with it.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
like,
great.
oh, no way. That's cool. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah,
Small
Kevin, we always
world,
joke.
even though
Well,
it's
maybe he is going to be, but we joke that he's going to be mayor of Carlton at some point. So,
oh, nice.
but yeah, he's city council person or whatever you call it.
Okay, nice. That's
He'll do it. I bet he'll do it. So
uh-huh.
I was like, I already am the worst because I'm like, okay, so what do we get out of it? Like, what's the, politicians always get
Yeah,
something. Like,
right.
where's the freebies? Do I get an armed guard at my house because
Exactly.
you're the mayor of Carlton? Like,
Right. You get a
I need
free
a
wine
driver.
membership.
Like, I, I need a driver and I need a free wine membership. So I was like,
Yeah,
hopefully your mayoral career lasts a long time, but I'm gonna try
right.
to take advantage of it. I'm just kidding. Anyone
Yeah,
who's listening, I'm not gonna do that, but I just think
but
it's funny
maybe.
because he gets
Yeah.
super serious about it, and he's like, "No, never. I would never." I'm like, "I'm just kidding, man. It's not a big. I'm just literally joking between me and you." like,
Yes.
like,
We're not being recorded
but
right now.
yes, I don't think, but we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
now. Like,
we are now. Yeah. So it's
so
cat's
this will
out of
be
the
used as
bag.
evidence case number. Like,
Right.
I have nothing to do with the Carlton mayor or anything like that. Just anyone who's
Yes.
listening. So,
Nor do I.
um, well, I wanted to talk today on the real estate world. We've been kind of going into like more or less kind of in a path of the contract of going into a sale and what buyers should be aware of. Last 2 weeks
Hmm.
ago, we talked about appraisals. That's kind of why we jumped ahead. Appraisals. Last week we talked about the difference between down payments and closing costs and how those, and that was, I think, really beneficial. So if you don't know anything about that, go back to that episode because it was really good. I think learning between what a closing cost is and a down payment is something way overlooked by most buyers and just don't know. And most buyers see it at the end of a closing statement and are like, what's going on here? So,
Hmm.
um, definitely something to check out. But today, I was thinking of going in the inspection because inspection is basically the primary way as a buyer that you can back out of a deal within the first 10 business days and grab your earnest money and go. So the inspection, for those of you who don't know, is a time that you have the ability to inspect a home. You can, depending on the contract and depending on what you asked for, you can do a general home inspection, radon, sewer scope, mold, in inspection, whatever you want to do based within the contract that you made in the offer. You have a certain amount of time to do it. I think it's an important time to really look at the house and get that done. But it may or may not have ramifications with your loan and things like that. I think because Cody's here and it's lending, I won't get into the nitty gritty of an inspection, the details of it, but more of like kind of post inspection what we can do. So, Cody, you can speak to this, like what it can be used for. But basically, in an inspection, you see XYZ of stuff that needs to be done. You can either ask for money off the top of the home. You can ask for closing cost credit. You can ask for it to be repaired. You can ask for a combination of all three of those. Um, and we have talked before about price of home versus closing costs. So, kind of tell
Hmm.
me what your opinion is on, say for example, we have an inspection. It's about, let's just use a $10,000, like 10,000. Well, let's go $20,000. $20,000 worth of work that the inspector found needed to be done. Um, Buyers come to me and say, "Hey, there's $20,000 of work. What do we do?" What do you have clients do generally, and kind of what your thoughts are on it, generally speaking? Obviously, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's specific is different, but um, what's your thoughts on it?
Uh, so usually part of it will depend on if there's already seller concessions like at the beginning of the contract. So we'll say in this case, there's no seller concessions. So meaning that the sellers are not paying, they're not agreeing to pay for any of the buyer's closing costs. And then you get to the point where the inspection stuff has come up and whatever that number is, call it $20,000. What I would do is I would walk through with the buyers on, obviously it's going to, we can use all 20,000 of that in most cases, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're buying a $200,000 home, that can be a little more challenging because the cost for the fees are lower. So $20,000, you might be exceeding what the limit is anyways, but call it a $700,000 house. We can use that to cover all of the closing costs. You can also use it to buy the rate down more. You could do a temporary buy down with it. You could do a permanent buy down with it. We can cover the, if there's still money left over, you can use it to get reimbursed for your inspection that you already paid the inspector. So you can get that reimbursed. Pretty much anything that is paid through the loan other than your down payment. You can't use the seller credit for that to cover any of your down payment. But outside of that, you can have it cover everything. So usually what we'll do is, like, if the seller has already agreed to pay closing costs, maybe we'll use whatever's left over to pay the rest of them if there's still something needed, or maybe buy the rate down a little bit more. And then we'll probably just have to use the remaining to reduce the purchase price, because there's a certain threshold where you're like, we just don't have, can't really apply it to much else. So let's drop the purchase price. But usually paying for the closing costs makes a much bigger impact than bringing the price down.
Yeah.
Call it $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you drop the purchase price $5,000, it's going to change your payment by, not much, $5, $10, pretty minimal. But saving $5,000 in your bank account and using that towards something else, it would take you years and years and years to recoup. If you're saving $10 or $15 a month based on your lower purchase price, it's going to take you forever to save up $5,000 through that.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas $5,000 could be applied towards whatever, moving costs, furniture, upgrades, whatever it might be. So usually that's the route that I will walk them through, of just kind of the comparison, because it's a pretty straightforward comparison when you show the numbers. Here's how much you're going to save by reducing the purchase price. Here's how much is going to go in your bank account, by them paying your closing costs and that not coming out of your pocket. So,
yep. And tell me if I'm wrong, but what I like to do is kind of work with the lender to say, especially in this market, there's a lot of offers being accepted that are already giving closing costs right off the bat. And so then when you run into that event of, like, Cody's like, I can only give you $5,000 more in closing cost credit, there's just nowhere else to use it, but you're asking for 10.
Yeah.
You can, like I said earlier, you can do a combination of both. So we find out, hey, Cody, what's the max we can get? We ask that for seller, in closing cost credit. And rather than say, okay, well, we have like $3,500 to buy the price down, or to take off the price of the house, it's so minuscule. So what I generally suggest is that we have the work done. Like, pick a couple things that equal that $3,500, or get close to it, mold remediation or something, in that price range, to say, why don't you get that work done? Because dropping that off the price of the house is not going to, it's not going to help you in any way, in a real way that's going to matter. And then it also gets a project fix that you don't have to then do when you move in the house. So
totally.
So there's lots of options to do with that. So it's not always price, and generally it isn't price unless people's priority is, like, you've had these people of, like, we're paying off our mortgage, so whatever we can talk off the mortgage price, that's what we want. And so then you start going ask for a drop in the price. But most people are a combination of a closing cost and repair addendum to get things done. But
and we don't.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we don't, as the lender, and this isn't just our company, this is in general, we don't have to get a copy of the inspection. We don't need to be involved in the inspection. If anything, we as a company don't want anything to do with the inspection, because, as a loan officer, we can be as much as somebody wants us to be. But from a paperwork standpoint, from a review of any kind, we don't want to see it, because once we see whatever is going on, it's kind of hard to unsee. And usually with an inspection, I mean, you've seen them all the time, where it's like, you can take a really nice house and then an inspector can do a good job of making it feel like, holy smokes, is this thing even livable?
Is it gonna stay up?
Right. Like, this is, we're going to have to bulldoze this thing, but they do a really good job of that. But from our side, we don't need to get a copy of it. We don't need to be involved from a, hey, what are the things that are required? Because, like we talked about last week, the appraisal is whatever is required from the appraisal is what we're going to have to follow.
Care about,
not the inspection, because the inspection that's nitpicky little things. So
that's why it's important to have someone on an agent and a lender on your side, and to trust them on the inspection portion of things, because it can really damage your deal if by accident you took things upon yourself to say, I'm a buyer. I'm going to go right to Cody and send in the inspection and say, what do you think we should do? Like,
Yeah.
because once Cody has that, like, then it adds a whole bunch of complications. And it's not like anyone's trying to be shady. It's just
Yeah.
an inspection report is 40 to 60 pages of every, whether it's new construction or whether it's,
Yeah.
a 1920s home that's run down. It's just, that's what it is. And it's just, it can really damage your deal to kind of take things into your own hands.
Hmm.
And start doing things. So for inspections, especially for inspections, is to trust your agent and trust your lender to kind of navigate that to what we know is a simple process. But
Yeah.
if you make one little mistake, one email that gets sent the wrong way, or one,
Yeah.
one thing that happens, like we've all had it where it's like, oh no, like it
Uh-huh.
got sent on accident and some, a buyer sent it on accident or even a seller's agent sent it on accident.
Uh-huh.
And you can get in a lot of trouble with it.
Yeah.
It could
For
hurt the home
sure.
sale for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. And if you like to do general maintenance to your home, you use that inspection and
Yeah.
just, once you bought it, then you're like,
Start
okay, I'm going
knocking
to
them
just
off
work
the
my way
list.
down my checklist here because a lot of it, I mean, it is a lot of minor stuff, but it's all good things too, where you're like, oh, I would have never noticed that thing, that little thingy is something that could be pointed out. And, you know, most of it you probably wouldn't even notice, but I've noticed that like with our stuff, like when looking down through it every once in a while, I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. I forgot that was on there. Cause you just don't see a lot of it throughout your normal living in the home. So
Yeah,
nice
for
little
sure.
checklist for you if you're that type of person.
I go through inspections all the time and I'm like, I have not looked at that in my house. Like, especially like new construction, they're like, he's like, every
Huh?
4 months you should check the specs on the rotary girder, and I'm like, I have no idea
Yeah.
what that is, and I have never checked it
Right.
in my life. Like, but he's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
No
I
clue
just
what
I
it
just
is,
set a
where it is.
calendar and set it every 3 months. I'm like, well, my house has been owned by for 6 years and never been touched,
Uh-huh.
so hopefully it's still good. Like,
Oh, I
uh,
can hear that. Yeah, for
um,
sure.
one of the things for buyers that they don't under or don't know about generally is there are two costs that are upfront costs. We talked about one of them being the appraisal. Um, that's an upfront cost that you have to pay right away to get the appraisal done. The other one is the inspection. So those are two larger purchases or larger investments that you need to make in the very beginning of your home sale that come out to what, $2,000 ish. So
Yeah, right around there.
so if you're thinking that all this stuff is like, oh, it happens during close, it happens during this or whatever, or I'm going to get money in towards the end of close, it's like those are two things that the inspector gets paid right away and the appraiser gets paid right away. So just be aware of that. Generally speaking, in the latest has been kind of in the $8,000 to $1,000 range for a typical home inspection, sewer scope, and radon.
Hmm.
So just be prepared to spend that money. You had mentioned, Cody, and I have never heard of this until you mentioned it to me, that could be reimbursed.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, if
tell us a
there's
little bit
money
about that.
left, yeah, if there's money left over from the seller, so the seller's paying, they're paying all your closing costs, and you've used up everything that you can. There's just nothing else that really can be done. Because sometimes you can continue to buy the rate down, but there's a bigger spread the farther
Yeah.
you go. So
Yeah.
there might be a situation where in order to buy the rate down more, it's going to cost an additional $4,000, and you only have
Yeah.
$1,000 left of the seller credit. So when we don't have anything else that we can apply that to, what we can do is we can get the seller using that, say, $1,000 to cover the home inspection that you already paid for. And so the way that works is we just get a copy of the inspection, we get, a receipt showing that you paid for it, and then we get that out to, the way that it technically works is the inspector ends up canceling or reimbursing the buyer their cost for
And
it.
then you guys
And then
give the
at
inspector the
closing,
money. Okay.
exactly, at closing, then there's essentially a new invoice for the inspection, which is then paid for by the seller. So they just get reimbursed. Their money gets refunded back to them, and then the inspector gets paid again right at closing. So because anything that you paid towards the transaction out of your pocket prior to closing is something that is considered part of the transaction, which can be reimbursed by the seller if you
Okay.
have leftover. So that can be
Now,
home warranties as well.
okay.
Home inspections,
Okay.
radon, earthquake. I mean, you could do whatever it is.
That's interesting. I don't know
Hmm.
how I haven't heard of this. Is this like residential or is this
No, it's just a
all
normal
mortgages?
loan
Okay.
parameter guideline. It's
I've
just
just never
most of
even
the
seen it
time.
on the selling side or the buying side, but I guess most of the time people just get their rate
Yeah,
bought down to a certain point and,
yeah.
closing costs covered. So,
Hmm. Part of the time, like for me, I usually try to overestimate a little bit on what the closing costs are going to be because
hmm
I'd rather have a little bit left over and knowing that
yeah,
we can apply it towards something rather than being short. Because it
yeah,
sucks when you have your plan going into it is that the sellers are going to cover everything. And then, something comes in a little bit more than what you were expecting. And
yeah,
then by the time you're at the end, you're like, hey, you still need to bring in an extra $1,000 for
yeah.
closing costs. So sometimes it's a matter of that where it's like the fees come in, because when we get everything started, we're getting estimates from title, estimates from the appraiser, estimates for all
hmm
this stuff, right? And so we can usually get pretty close, but there are times where it's like, oh wow, that was we overestimated on what that was going to cost, which is a great problem to be in. So then you have, sometimes you have some money left over.
Yeah.
um, and again, if you don't have enough to like buy down to the next rate, then you're just kind of stuck with that. And then again, home warranty or covering the cost of the inspection. Those are usually the two things. If there's money left
Okay.
over, those are the two things that are most used for because you just kind of run out of options after that.
Yeah, yeah. And does the seller get that back then? Or just doesn't ever come out, really?
Yes. If
Okay.
yeah, so if whatever would be left over afterwards,
Okay. It's just the
then it
seller
would it would go back
back
to
to
the
the
seller.
seller. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, does the seller have to agree to the paying that? You were mentioning something like the seller gets the invoice, or is it just like, hey,
Mm-mm.
seller, you're paying
Yeah.
for the inspection?
Yeah, they don't even know
Okay.
because
They
it's
wouldn't even.
just part of the original agreement that they're
Okay.
paying, call it $15,000. So as far as they know, $15,000 is being
Is
taken
gone
from their,
and do
yep,
whatever you
from their
want with it.
plate.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Okay.
it's use it up as well as you can. And
Okay.
then if it came out to 14,500 and there was just nothing else left, then they'd get back an additional 500,000 or $500.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so yeah, they
Okay.
don't get
Cool.
anything. It's all just done through title at closing, with the reimbursement and charging it to the seller from their proceeds.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
finally, I just want to ask, or just like kind of say, basically to the buyers out there, there's a 10 business day inspection period, generally speaking, that can always be flexed lower or higher depending on the property, depending on the market, all that sort of stuff. That's the time that you'll be able to walk away and grab your earnest money in the event that you don't like the inspection. So just keep that in mind. Your agent should keep you on track, keep you in the know on that, and that's the time that kind of you're heavy into talking to your lender, talking to the agent, talking to the inspector to see kind of where we are at, what we need and to make this deal happen and to make you feel comfortable with the sale. I have a
Hmm.
random question before you go on a VA closing cost. We talked about it last week. I think
Hmm.
generally, maybe not VA. Um, you have benefits being a VA, getting a VA loan, no down payment, no mortgage
No mortgage
insurance.
insurance.
Uh,
Hmm.
Closing costs. I think a misconception with a lot of VA, especially first time VA home buyers, is that they're just going to come and say, I want to write a $500,000 offer, and I walk up to the closing table and there's no money out of my
Sure.
pocket. Can you explain, kind of generically that that's not the case?
Hmm. Yeah. So VA closing costs, everything, it is going to be treated pretty much like any other loan would be. There was a little misconception a while ago. I don't feel like I hear it as much anymore, but there was this thought that the seller had to pay all the closing costs. And there are certain fees that the seller would have to pay, but those are not normal fees that happen throughout the transaction. Um, in my 13 years, I've never ran into any of those fees that were a seller required fee. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's like just a couple fees that they would be required to pay. And I don't know if it's a state thing where Oregon and Washington just don't have those certain fees as part of their transfer fees,
Yeah.
title fees, stuff like that. Because I know there are other states that have different types of fees that are
Yeah.
required.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
maybe it's more applicable in those states that I don't typically lend in, where a seller would have to pay those. But overall, you're still going to pay your normal appraisal, title fees, setting up an escrow account, um,
So
lending
you'll pay
fees, all
generally
that
the
stuff.
same amount of closing costs. We talked about the difference of closing costs and down payment
Yeah.
last week, so pay attention to that if you don't know what that is. But yes, you will still pay closing costs as a VA buyer. You'll
Hmm.
still have that.
Yep.
And that's, and I'll say just generally speaking, again, this is off, but $12,000 to $15,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And the only
Okay.
real difference with VA is there's a funding fee, which is what the VA charges to use their loan. But um, if you have over 10% or more in disability through the VA, then that funding fee is waived.
Okay.
But it also can be financed into the loan. So it's like, it's all the same fees that are normally going to be applied to every other loan. The only
Yeah.
real difference is that funding fee. And that's going to depend on if it's the first time being used, if it's, subsequent use, and how much you're putting down, if you're putting money down versus not putting money down. So there's like a whole chart to it on what your
Yeah.
funding fee would be if you have
Okay.
any at all. But yep,
Cool.
overall, you're still going to have normal closing costs.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, there's always closing costs with everything. So.
There's right. That's right. It's like death and taxes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, my man. Well, that was good. If
Yeah.
you guys have any questions about inspections, closing costs, loans, everything, Cody and I are here. So reach out
Wine.
to us. Wine, yes, soon. Wine, definitely
Right.
boxed wine.
Yeah.
But
Right.
maybe nicer wine in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, pay attention to Venture with Joe and Cody. If you're a buyer or seller in today's market, this is a market that needs a little nuance. It has a little nuance and needs smart people handling it, because the incompetent ones are dying out fast. So
They are. Yep. Somehow
and
we're still
I
here.
hate saying that, but yeah, we're still making it. We're hanging on for
Right.
dear life. But yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe, like our podcast, and yeah, give us any feedback if you have it. 5-star review. I haven't even asked for a 5-star review. We need to ask
Yeah.
in the very beginning.
That's true.
We need a 5-star reviews. So
We do.
give us a 5-star review. Cody, give me a 5-star review, and I'll give
gotcha.
ourselves one too. So
Perfect. Let's do it.
Until next week. We may not have a next week. Cody's out of town, but we'll see if we can get a recording
Yep.
done. But yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
next week. We'll see you later, man.
Awesome. That sounds like a plan.
Okay, bye.
All right. We'll see you.